Hi, welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a kit that we'll be giving out starting March the 1st, 2025. But if you don't live anywhere near our library or you're watching this later on our YouTube channel, don't worry, I will tell you everything that's in the kit so you'll know what you need to purchase to make this craft at home. So what we're making today is this cute little card. It's decorated with what's called quilling. Now quilling is rolling up little pieces of strips of paper and gluing them on to make a three-dimensional look. See how that's three-dimensional? Because we're going to be using different widths of paper, and that equals different heights off the page. And we got this idea from our friends over at the Cosby Library and Community Commons, so go check out their YouTube channel too. Great craft videos. Okay, so what's in the kit, or what you'll need to purchase if you don't have the kit. First thing is this a card with a silhouette of a tree on it. Now, you can make this at home. You can just get search for a free tree silhouette on the internet, and you can print it off on cardstock and then trim it to the right size. So how you will need to print it is you will need to print it on the right side of the paper, and then you can trim top and bottom, and make sure that when you print it, it's going to be less than half the width, because you don't want to fold it and have part of it folded over to the back. So it has to be less than half the size of the paper, and this is just printed on regular white cardstock. Then you will have in your kit a quilling tool. Okay, so this is the tool I'm going to be using today. This one is one that I have that has two ends. One is a pointy tip and one is a flat tip. The tool that's in the kit has the flat tip with no pointy end. I don't know if you can see this, but there is a slot right in there in the middle. That's about 1/4 of an inch down. I hope you can see that on camera. And that is the end of the little paper strips are going to go in there to catch the end while you roll it up into the coil. Now the one I happen to be using today, and if you're buying your own supplies, you may see these that have that same thing on one end and just a pointed little needle tip on the other. This side, these are the ones that's going to be included in the kit, because this end is much easier for beginners to learn how to use. And then as you get better in your quilling and you try and use this one, it's not as easy to use to wrap the things around it because it doesn't have a slot to catch the end of the paper. But you can get much finer tips or finer coils with the needle one than you can with this side. But for today, we're just going to be demonstrating with the flat end with the slot. You will also have in your kit a little tube of white glue. The thing about this is this kind of glue is actually very thick. So when you use it, you might want to thin it down just a little bit by just putting like a little drop of water into it and stirring it around. You will have a toothpick to apply the glue. I don't have a toothpick with me right now, so I am actually going to be using an unbent paper clip. I just want a little tip. I use this for a lot of crafts and stuff when I need little tiny applications of things. But you'll have a couple of toothpicks in your kit. This is just going to be what I use to apply the glue in tiny little bits on the end of the paper. Now, this kind of glue does come sealed, so you will need a pair of scissors, and you will see that part right there. You're going to need to cut it off right there to open up the hole. You can also use Elmer's glue or any other basic white craft glue. Mod Podge for decoupage glue, that works perfectly, and you don't need to thin that down. Okay, and you will also have various pieces of paper, and you will have different widths. Now, you'll have, this was cut to about 10 or 11 millimeters wide, which is a little less than, it's about 3/8 of an inch, around there. You'll have some like this that were cut to about 1/4 of an inch. And I just used colored copy paper to cut strips. You will also have some actual quilling strips. Now, if you buy paper that's actually made for quilling, it comes in a thing like this, where they are sealed at each end, and you can just open it up and separate one and then just gently tug it out. That's to keep them from being messy and going all over the place. And you can buy these in widths of, this is 5 millimeters, which is just a smidge less than 1/4 of an inch. You can buy it in 3, 5, 7, and 10. So skinnier than this, all the way up to about this size. And you can buy packs that are actually 1 pack of each. I think I got this on Amazon, and it was like $7 or $8, something like that, for a pack. Now, you're not going to use this big, this long of a piece of paper. For this, the actual quilling paper is longer than the ones I cut out of the copy paper. So these ones you're going to cut in half, and these ones you're going to cut into thirds. So what I do is I just line the ends up, and they don't have to be perfectly exact. We just want them about, so that ends up with strips that are about 5.5 inches long. Do the same thing to the wide ones. And these we're going to cut into thirds, and they are 15 inches long. So we're going to cut these to be about 5 inches long. And if you have a ruler, you can measure this. If you don't, you can just eyeball it. Like I said, it's not an exact science. It doesn't have to be completely exact measurements. Fold those. Okay. So now we've got our papers. The only thing I suggest is that you do not use, if you're going to buy your own supplies, if you're going to cut up your own paper, do not use very slick, shiny paper, because the glue takes much longer to stick on shiny, slick paper, and it will take you a lot longer. Okay. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to grab my quilling tool, and I like to make a bunch of the circles first and then glue them on. But you can make one and glue it on, make one and glue it on if you'd like, whichever you want. And I tend to, for the trees, I tend to like to cluster the tall ones near the center, and then the smaller ones out toward the edges of the branches. So I'm going to start with a larger one. Let's get one that contrasts really well against the green so that you can see it. We're going to slide the pink paper right into the thing, and we're going to make it so that it's right up on the edge. You don't want any paper sticking out. And you notice I'm holding it with my finger. That's to keep, I'm just holding there to keep it from sliding out of the slot. You don't want any paper sticking out because that'll add a little creasy thing in the middle of your circle. And I'm going to just, now, you can roll it toward you or away from you, whichever you feel like. I'm going to roll this one toward me, and you'll notice if the wider ones kind of stick out a little bit more, you might have to encourage that top to roll a little bit. Okay, and now I'm just going to roll and roll and roll. And I don't have to go fast, and I don't have to tug it tight. I'm just want to make sure that the ends don't start spiraling out, that you keep the edges lined up as much as possible. A little one way or another is not going to hurt it too bad, but you want to try and get the edges lined up tightly. And I'm just using my fingers to keep it, I'm not pushing hard, I'm just using my fingers a little bit as a resting point to keep it from uncoiling. Because if you let go, it's going to, like a spring. Okay, so I've got it all rolled up. Now I'm going to let go, and I'm going to gently pull this out. You don't want to pull it out while it's tight in there because you'll start tugging the center. You want to let it go a little bit and then pull it out. And so you'll notice there I've got my little coil. Now, if that's a little too tight, you can always kind of get something in there and maybe untwirl it a little bit to loosen it up. Now we're going to, and in this case you want to work with a little bit of glue at a time because this does dry out very quickly because of the amount of time it takes to roll the things. And so I have put a little dab of glue on here, and I've mixed it with just a couple drops of water. So you see the consistency that is? It's not thick. It's not like running all over the plate, but it's not a thick thickness. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it and put a little bit inside. You don't need much. If you put too much on, it's going to glob out. And so what I do is I hold both ends like this so that the edges are lined up. That may actually be even a little bit much glue. Let me take off some there. And I just kind of roll it up here and I hold it for a second. Don't push too hard, you'll crease the paper. And then you just have your coil. Now, if you want to go ahead and put this on, you will just dab it in the glue. Now, don't move it side to side. You'll get too much and you'll get glue all over the outside. Just tap it down. And I usually touch it like this to make sure all of the center coils have a little bit of glue on it. See that? And you just place it where you want it. Like I said, I like to have the tall ones in the center. But that's just me. That's my personal preference. Now, I do want to warn you, this stuff, like I said, dries out really quickly. So if you find it drying out too much, you might want to get a paper towel or two. Okay. And you can just put the glue on like a paper plate or something like that. You don't, I just use this little lid as a paint tray or glue tray. And you can just get a moist paper towel and stretch it over the top. You don't want it sagging down so that it dumps into your glue, but just put a little bit of a moist paper towel stretched across the top, and that helps keep the glue from drying out as fast. Okay, so now I want to show you how to make shapes. So I like to make the shape, if I'm going to pinch it, I want to pinch it where the end of the paper was, because that's the seam. And all I do is I'm holding it, and I'm holding this gently with these hands, and then I'm going to pinch on this side. And I don't want to pinch it flat. I'm going to just gently pinch. Let me bring another piece of paper over here so you can see the contrast here. That probably shows up a little better. And I'm going to pinch just the end. Maybe catching a couple of the layers inside in the coil, but not all of them. And there you have a teardrop. Now, if you want a pointed teardrop, or pointed one like this, you can then turn it around and do the opposite side the exact same way, and then you have that. Now you'll notice I've done a couple of curvy ones. You can then take your fingers on this side and bend it up one way, and take these and bend it down the other way. Just a little bit. You don't need to be aggressive about it. And see, you have a little flowy curve. And so what I like to do is I like to make a bunch of the coils just in circles. And before I pinch them, I will kind of lay them out. So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to make all of my paper into coils, and you probably won't need all of this paper. I just wanted to give you some extra. And then I'll be back to show you how I actually put the whole thing together. Okay, so I have rolled up, I still have a few pieces left, but I've rolled up 2 of each of the colors that I have. And so I think I'm going to do that. I may not need all of these, but just in case. Okay, so I'm going to start with the tall ones. And I am going to, just as I did before, tap it in there and hold it down. I have mixed up a little bit more glue. I put another dab of glue on there and 1 drop of water and mixed it up to be a little thinner. And I'm going to put a few round ones to start. Like I said, I like to cluster the tall ones near the center. Now got a few round ones. Now I'm gonna do a few teardrops. So I'm gonna squeeze this one, tap it, and it's up to you whether or not you point the teardrops away, the pointy end away, or toward the outside, or the rounded end toward the outside. So this shows you what it looks like when it's pointy tip outward. Looks more like a leaf. And then this is more of a pointed leaf, and this is more of a rounded leaf, whichever you put away from the branches. Okay, let's get, you know what, I think I'm going to put that right there. Okay. Do another pointy one. Now let's do a double point on this one. Point, whoops, point, flip it around, point, tap it down. Let's put those up next to each other, I think. Let's do kind of a curved one. Let's curve both of them, both pointy tips down in this case. If you do that, that does compress the little coils a little bit. So you'll have a skinnier circle. The more times you pinch, the more it compresses the inner coils. So the round ones are going to be bigger, the teardrops are going to be a little bit smaller, and the ones that are pointed on both ends will be even smaller. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop with the tall ones for right now. I can always come back and add more. I'm going to start spreading out the shorter ones. Now, these are very easy to handle, the 10mm ones, because they're very wide and it's easy to just handle these. The 5 and 6mm ones are a little bit harder to handle because they're shorter. If you find yourself having trouble and getting your fingers in the glue, you might want to take a pair of tweezers. And so I'm going to add these a little bit around. I'm going to do a few round ones as I did before. And I've got my damp paper towel here that if I get my fingers in the glue, you can just wipe it off there. Let's try to drop out that way. Now this glue will not be set super quickly, so I mean it feels firm, but be careful when you're putting things up against each other that you don't move the other ones. Let's do another teardrop. I think that about does it for me. Now I'm going to leave it to dry for, oh, I don't know, about 10 minutes, just to make sure, because we don't use very much glue, the glue dries pretty quickly. Okay, so that's your finished card. Thanks for viewing another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl, and I'll see you next time. Bye.